You volunteer your time to make your community a better place. But what if that very service put your personal finances, your home, your savings? What if it put all of that at risk? Today, we're going to talk about the single most overlooked risk for any HOA board member. Yeah, I know it sounds a little dramatic, but it is a serious question. If your board gets accused of what's called a wrongful act, and that can be anything from denying a paint color to mismanaging funds, you personally can be sued. That means your own personal assets are on the line. But hey, don't worry, we're going to break down exactly how to protect yourself. And look, if this is already raising a red flag for you, you don't even have to wait. You can click the link in the description right now to start a totally free, no-obligation review of your HOA's policies. Okay, let's get right into it. What does this risk actually look like? There's a huge misunderstanding about where the real danger is for board members, and honestly, it creates a massive, massive gap in protection. See, everybody thinks about the physical stuff, someone slipping at the pool or a tree branch falling on a car. And yeah, that's important, but the far more common and way more financially devastating risks come from the actual decisions you make as a board. That is where the real liability is hiding. So this brings us to a super important distinction that a surprising number of boards just get wrong. You might think your general liability policy covers these decisions, but it absolutely does not. Let's take a look at the difference. And here it is, side by side. You've got general liability, or GL. That's for physical things, bodily injury, property damage, the slip and fall stuff. Then you have directors and officers insurance, or D&O. This is for the management decisions, the potential wrongful acts of the board. They cover two completely different worlds of risk. Here's the absolute easiest way to think about it. D&O is basically malpractice insurance for your volunteer board. You're managing the community's money and its rules, and D&O is what protects you from claims that come from how you do that job. All right, so this all might sound a little abstract. What do these lawsuits actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a few really common scenarios where D&O is the only thing standing between a board member and a total financial disaster. Okay, this is a classic. The board puts off a necessary repair, maybe to save money, and it ends up causing damage to a homeowner's condo. This isn't a slip and fall, it's a lawsuit claiming the board was negligent. Your general liability policy won't even look at this. Only D&O will cover your legal defense. Now this one can be just devastating. A simple accounting error or moving money from the wrong fund can lead to a lawsuit from residents who claim the board's financial mess hurt their property values. These are incredibly complicated and expensive cases to defend. And here's one we see all the time. Your board has to enforce the rules, right? But what if a resident feels those rules were applied unfairly or in a discriminatory way? They can sue. And even if you know you were in the right, the cost to prove that in court is just enormous. So let's just pause right here for a second. I want you to ask yourself this critical question right now. A lot of standard D&O policies have these hidden exclusions or really low sublimits for certain types of claims that can leave you dangerously exposed. Do you have any idea what yours are? Okay, so we've seen the risks, and they're pretty scary. Let's talk about the solution. What does a good D&O policy actually do for you when one of these lawsuits lands on your doorstep? So what does it actually pay for? Well, first and foremost, D&O is a defense policy. That means it pays for your lawyer's bills, which, let me tell you, stack up incredibly fast. It also covers financial settlements and judgments, and really importantly, it can even cover claims from employees, like wrongful termination, a super common and costly risk. And just to put that into perspective for you, look at this. Over $100,000. That's what the legal defense for even one relatively simple lawsuit can easily cost. And that's even if you win. Without the right D&O insurance, that money is coming from the HOA's budget or, worst case scenario, from you. All right, you get the risk, you get the solution, so what's the next step? How do you make sure that your board, and more importantly, your personal assets, are actually protected? Let this sink in for a minute. This is the whole reason you're here, right? You stepped up to serve your community because you care about it. That service should never, ever require you to put your own family's financial security on the line. And getting protected is so simple. It's just 2 steps. First, just click the link right there in the description below. Second, our team will put together a free custom review of your current coverage and give you a quote to make sure you're totally protected. It is literally that easy. Seriously, think about it. If your policy hasn't been looked at by a professional in the last year, you could be exposed right now. Don't wait to find out the hard way. Click that link for your free quote and a full D&O review. Let us help you make sure your board has the protection it actually deserves.
And finally, hey, don't forget to subscribe. We're always putting out more essential risk management tips to help you lead your community with confidence. Thanks so much for watching.